mynews.studio.
Salmon streams running clear again in Alaska. Acorn granaries rebuilt in Yosemite. What does Indigenous co-stewardship really mean for America's parks?
Today is January 30th, 2026. Let's get straight to it. For the first time, the United States has formally embraced Indigenous co-stewardship of national parklands. This marks a shift away from the old fortress conservation model, where Indigenous peoples were often excluded or removed from their ancestral lands. Why is this happening now?
It's about acknowledging history. For more than a century, national parks were managed with the belief that untouched nature meant removing local peoples. But Indigenous communities have cared for these places for thousands of years. Their knowledge wasn't lost, it just wasn't included. Now, co-stewardship means they're at the table, blending traditional ecological practices with modern science.
Are there concrete examples of how this works in practice? I mean, what actually changes for someone visiting these parks?
Definitely. For example, in Alaska's Tongass National Forest, the Hunan Native Forest Partnership is restoring salmon streams using Tlingit techniques, methods that go back long before European arrival. They're collaborating with the U.S. Forest Service. In Yosemite, Wahoga Village has been revived, so you'll see rebuilt acorn granaries and miwok dwellings. But it's more than structures. Interpretive programs now include Indigenous voices, giving visitors a fuller sense of the land's story.
So it's not just physical changes, like new buildings, but also a shift in whose stories get told and how people experience the parks.
That's right. Bears Ears National Monument is a good case. Now 5 tribal nations have a formal role in managing resources and setting policies. Visitor centers highlight living Indigenous histories, not just archaeological artifacts. The idea isn't to keep the land frozen in the past. It's to treat it as a living, cultural landscape.
I wonder, could other countries take up this approach? Or is there something unique about how it's playing out in the U.S.?
It isn't just an American idea. Canada has similar co-management in several parks. Australia is drawing on Aboriginal knowledge for places like the Great Barrier Reef. The main thing is, you need legal frameworks. Shared authority has to be built into the system, not just offered as an option. And funding is crucial. If Indigenous communities don't have resources, a seat at the table isn't enough.
But what about the risk of things going backwards? Policies can change with new governments. Are there ways to make these arrangements last?
That's a real concern. Writing co-stewardship into law helps, but it's also about funding and public awareness. The more visitors value these changes, the harder they are to undo. There's also a global movement for Indigenous rights, so international attention can offer some pressure.
Why does this matter beyond conservation? Is it just about protecting land, or is something else at stake?
It's more than conservation. It's about justice, recognizing past wrongs, and building a more inclusive future. And traditional ecological knowledge is proving vital for tackling biodiversity loss and climate change. If the U.S. can do this, it could set a standard for other countries with similar histories.
So, as co-stewardship expands, it's not just the look of parks that changes. It's also about who defines what nature means. How does that affect the next generation of visitors?
They'll see landscapes that aren't just beautiful, they're honest about their histories. And they'll hear voices that used to be left out, now helping shape the future.
Thanks for breaking this down with me. Today we explored how Indigenous co-stewardship is reshaping America's parks, what visitors might notice, and how this approach could catch on globally, raising big questions about justice, sustainability, and who tells the story of the land.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.